1579, designed the map of China. And, well, he used the information he could gather from the navigators. You know, that at that time, the maps were kept under 7 keys, very much protected, especially by the Portuguese. He collects then all the information he could gather, and he will mix knowledge, legend, imagination, and he will draw this map. And here you see, well, here's California, here's Japan. My so-young friends, I'm very sorry, Korea doesn't exist until that time. You know, the lost tribes of Israel, where are they? Because they should be somewhere. And so they are here. Ortelius exiled them in Siberia. You see some sea monsters here around. So a place for imagination. And here you see, can you read that? Catayo. Cathay is the China described by Marco Polo. Cathay is the name of China during the Yuan dynasty. So the Yuans or the Mongols, they conquered China and they named it Cathay. And they will even change the capital, and they will bring the capital to the north and they will name it Kanbarik, the capital of the Kan, the city of the Kan. That's Beijing nowadays. Anyway, but then the Portuguese will arrive in the south. So this map has China. See here, the bottom. So we have 2 countries in the same place, and at that time they thought there were 2 separate countries. When Matteo Ricci arrives in the end of the 16th century, beginning of the 17th century, he will start investigating that. But only later on, when Brother Bentley Goss will come all the way by foot from Europe through the Silk Road up to Taiwan, when he's going to die, they will finally prove that Cathay and China are the same country. So they don't know much about China in 1579. Well, until nowadays, I think our task is to do the same pilgrimage and to show people how our maps, our image of China are diverse, sometimes distorted, sometimes fantastic, sometimes only partially informed, and sometimes accurate. But we have to explore different maps. Well, that's one of the reasons why this map is in our collection. We acquired this last November, and we have at the Beijing Center a collection of maps, old maps of China. That's our oldest map. We also have a collection of artifacts and books. The biggest library in English about China in China. Normally, we organize our presentations as what we do, why do we do, and how do we do. I think it's more interesting for the purpose of this panel to talk about how does the GBC, the Beijing Center, does what we're called to do. And our mission is to educate about China and to give the Jesuit universities worldwide the best possible study abroad opportunity in China. So, Beijing 中国学中心, the Beijing Center, was established in 1998 by Ron Anton as a joint effort between the Chinese province and AJCU, the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, to offer our students the best possible learning opportunity to study China in China. You might remember that in 1998 is the same year when BIMBA, Beijing International MBA, is established, not by coincidence. Ron Anton, my predecessor, established both centers because at that occasion the China province realized that there was an opportunity for us to establish a higher education center in China. You know how complex the political environment is in China until nowadays. So as Jesuits, even from Jesuit universities, to establish a center in China was and it's still very complicated. and we were offered a small window to associate, to partner with Chinese universities and establish a program on business, Bingba, giving a double degree, a Chinese and an American degree for Chinese studies, Chinese students mainly. That was Bingba at Peking University. And at the same time, a program for foreign students, mostly American, interested in studying China. That's the Beijing Center. So they were established by the same person at the same time, but at two different universities and for different purposes. Why were we at a different university? Because we wanted as much integration with Chinese students as we could. And we wanted Chinese roommates. And Peking University told us that having Chinese roommates was a little bit dangerous. I don't know for whom, but until nowadays it seems that it's a sensitive issue. So we went to Sports University, which is on the outskirts of Beijing, and that seems to be okay. It seemed to be okay. We were there for a few years. We moved to the BIT, Beijing Institute of Technology, and finally we landed at UIB, the University of International Business and Economics, Dewi, where we are until nowadays, since 6 years ago. We offer Jesuit education in China. It seems to be okay because they're interested. Well, first, we only have foreign students, but it raises interest the fact that we want to offer immersion, so the centrality of experience and reflection on the experience that our students would have. Immersion will come through contact with Chinese students as much as we can, through immersion in an office where the students have direct contact to pieces of art and history of Chinese, different periods of time, but also through the trips. So we want our students to travel extensively through China, and from the 15 weeks they spend with us, 3 of them are traveling. The second element, for personalities, we have 120 students every semester, a maximum of 120 students, and 25 staff, so we can see the ratio. We want to discuss values, and it's an amazing opportunity because the students are so much shaken by the environment and by the opportunity that we often question and discuss with them how do you deal with someone who thinks differently from you. Not strange, not wrongly, but just in a different way. And finally, we were much interested in the efforts we make for excellent education. Among the faculty that we have, we are very lucky, along those 12 years of existence, to select a very interesting corps of faculty. For example, our faculty, our professor of journalism is a former bureau chief of New York Times. So he has 3 or 4 students every semester, more or less, because the students are afraid of the load and they have to write every week the news, the comment about China, and they're criticized and corrected by the former bureau chief of New York Times. Our China in the World Economy faculty is the one who helped negotiate the right of Coca-Cola. We have a practical course called Moving China.